pleasure to have you on the air with us tonight.
Well, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Listen, there is so much going on in the world, and I don't want to. We when we start talking tonight, it will take all the air out of the room. But people need to know what you do and how you have been so effectual in making certain. There's even a possibility by your work that New Mexico may turn red. Tell me, what is it that you do?
From your lips to God's ears. Um,
Tell me what you do.
Colorado, I want to turn red also. Well, thank you for having me on. We started PAC in 2013 originally, before Hillary Clinton even got into the race. We knew that the Democrats were going to lie, cheat, and steal to make sure that she was the first female president ever. And we started this PAC originally as the Stop Hillary PAC. And we grew to be one of the most influential PACs, I believe, in the 2016 elections. We were influential in pushing the Benghazi committee hearing and all of the information that came out from that hearing with regards to the email server and the classified documents that were being released and everything that came out of that. It really was, I would argue, because we were pushing so hard to have the Benghazi committee hearings. And then once Trump won the nomination, we were 100% behind him to make sure that he won and that Hillary Clinton never stepped foot in the White House again. And when he won, and we saw the left having a literal temper tantrum, national temper tantrum, and we had this huge asset, the committee. We wanted to fight back. We wanted to have the president's back and be there to do whatever we could to push back against the left and to push back against the media. So we changed the name of our PAC to the Committee to Defend the President. And over the course of the last 2 years, we've grown to be one of the largest pro-Trump PACs in the country because there really is nobody else out there that's defending him, that has his back. Certainly the RNC isn't doing it. The members of Congress haven't been doing it very well. And so media constantly, I was on Fox Business this morning, I'm on your show tonight. And our goal in 2018 was to get U.S. senators elected to make sure that we didn't lose the Senate. And we spent over $5 million promoting the president and supporting his candidates. Like in Tennessee, we put $1.2 million into the Tennessee race to make sure that she won. Marsha Blackburn won that race. And I think we played a pretty instrumental role in making sure that we didn't lose the Senate. And moving forward to 2020, obviously, our goal is to make sure that Trump gets reelected and that we continue to hold the Senate and hopefully pick up the House and push the Trump agenda through the Congress.
Listen, you are just one of the most tenacious men I have ever met in terms of moving forward and getting the message. You do a better job than all of the media in terms of getting the information right and out to the American people about Donald Trump. 3.2 GDP. We're talking about lowest unemployment since the chart was even collected. We're talking about Toyota and other institutions coming from overseas to build their cars here. He has done a marvelous job with the economy, but there is an economy right now that's in tatters to the south of us, and it's Venezuela. Your thoughts and comments regarding the trial and tribulation of Juan Guaido and all of the rest of those who live in Venezuela?
Well, it's a heartbreaking situation in Venezuela, and there is nobody to blame but the socialist government that's been in place there for the last several years. You know, Venezuela is one of the richest countries in the world. It has it has the largest oil deposits of any country in the world. It's dirty oil. It's not like Texas sweet crude. It does take a lot of refining to get it developed to a point where you can sell it. But when you have that much oil, you could sell it for $10 a barrel, and you would be one of the wealthiest countries ever. And they're squandering the incredible blessings that they've had because they're pushing this socialist agenda. And you look at what's happened over the last 12 months, the inflation rate has gone up over 10,000%. Yeah. People are throwing their money away because it's absolutely worthless. Yeah. And they're starving to death. They're eating out of the garbage. The only people that are fat and happy are those that are in office that are now abusing their citizens, driving over them in armored vehicles in an effort to stay in power. And what does that tell you about socialism? I thought it was ironic that today, in an interview on MSNBC, the reporter that's on the ground for MSNBC had the gall to say, well, the reason why the uprising that is taking place on the ground by these citizens is not effective is because the military has the guns and the citizens had their rights to defend themselves taken away and all guns confiscated away. That reporter is going to be fired, I think, before the next 24 hours, saying that that's why the Second Amendment is there, is so that the citizens of the country can defend themselves over a tyrannical government. But that is the truth. We need to have the military start to pull away from their elected leadership and start to stand with the people of Venezuela. It is a tragedy down there. It is a humanitarian tragedy down there. There's over 3.5 million people that have left the country and are now not immigrants, but refugees.
Well, potential illegal migrants to the United States of America. And when we come back, I want to talk with you. Venezuela does set, along with Central America, a opportunity for cartels and others to take advantage of a lot of people who have been broken by socialism. Ladies and gentlemen, what a great honor and privilege it is to always have with us Senator Ted Harvey, chairman of Committee to Defend the President. We'll be right back with more of the best right after these messages. Senator Ted Harvey with us tonight, ladies and gentlemen. That picture is a picture of composition from a number of places along the border just last night. Over the past 5 days, nearly 20,000 Mexicans have attempted to cross the border illegally as the migrants have decided that this is the best of opportunities to come into the nation as a wall is being built to the bottom. The President of the United States announces tonight that by the end of the year, the 432-mile stretch that was intended with the monies he's acquiesced from other departments will be completed. We have with us Ted Harvey tonight. Sir, Ilhan Omar said today that Venezuela is it's the U.S. fault. It's not socialism, it's the U.S. And as a result,
the U.S. done to create the humanitarian crisis that is going on in Venezuela? I honestly would like to know. I haven't heard her response to that. We don't have a single boot on the ground there from a military perspective. We have committed over $60 million worth of aid to surrounding countries and to Venezuela itself. The socialist government is prohibiting us, stopping us from bringing aid into the country. We're not bringing guns. We're not bringing soldiers. We are bringing $60 million worth of humanitarian aid through USAID into the country. And if anything, we are helping the country and helping the people from having to leave. That you have such radicals like Cortez out there articulating the socialist mantra, and Bernie Sanders, who is one of the top candidates for their nomination, is also an avowed socialist. Let them go out there. Let them continue to articulate such stupidity to the American people, because that's only going to lead to the even greater landslide than I believe Trump is going to already have in place. Let them look like idiots. That's great.
You know, speaking of landslide, it's not a problem until it's your problem. It's very easy for your neighbor to say there's not a problem until it's their problem. And in New Mexico, there had not necessarily, well, it's a tumultuous period of time in terms of the open border type situation that we have down there, because we're unable to enforce our constitutional laws to the fullest of the effect. But yesterday, or actually coming into this morning, over 400 people were arrested by the Border Patrol agents. And this is not one or two people coming in at different points. They were en masse, like an invasive group coming into America. Is this an opportunity for Donald Trump, firstly, to shut down the border? Secondly, is this an opportunity to turn New Mexico red?
Well, I don't think it's an opportunity to turn New Mexico red. They are as blue as can be. I am not that confident as the president's campaign manager is that he can turn New Mexico red. But I do think that we can turn Nevada red. I think we can turn Colorado red. There are several Western states that should not have gone for Hillary Clinton last time. And I think that's going to change this time around. I would encourage Democrats like Cortez, who really don't feel the impact of illegal immigration, to come to Colorado, to come to New Mexico, to come to Nevada, to come to Arizona, and really go down and see what is happening on the ground. It is an invasion. It is a humanitarian crisis, but it is also a sovereignty crisis. We have people that are coming across this border that want to do harm to the American people.
Yes.
There are good people in that caravan that are just trying to benefit themselves and their families, and I don't blame them. I would too if I lived in those socialist hellholes. But there's also people in those caravans that are drug smugglers, and we have an epidemic in the Western United States when it comes to what's the drug that
the opioids?
The epidemic? The opioids, thank
Yes.
you. That's destroying our communities in the West because of the illegal immigrant, illegal drug trafficking that's going on through the border. It is a sieve. We have to have a border. We have to have walls so that the people that we don't want to come in, we can stop. And certainly, I think the Democrats, well, I don't know. I'm not going to speak for the Democrats. We have a ton. We have thousands and thousands of drug traffickers, human traffickers.
Thank you.
Rapists, murderers, gangbangers coming across the border. Is that really what the Democrats want? If it is not, then help us build the wall so that we can stop them from coming in. And then the people that we do want to come in on merit, as the president has been saying over and over and over, we can have them come through a big, huge door that we are able to see who the people are coming through, and we're able to let them in. But what the process is right now is the Democrats are telling the American people they want the gangbangers.
Yes.
They want the drug traffickers, the human traffickers, and the terrorists that are coming across the border. That is truly the argument that the Democrats are making now, because they're saying I am so frustrated. It's not just Democrats though. Don't get me wrong. I'm pissed
exactly
at the Republicans as well. There's plenty of Republicans that are fighting the Democrat, fighting the president tooth and nail.
Exactly, in terms of being the antithesis to Donald Trump
They're bought and paid
as
for
Cuba.
they're bought and paid for by the Chamber of Compromise. The Chamber of Compromise is spending tens of millions of dollars out there to make sure that pro illegal immigrants, senators and representatives get elected. And you know, thank God Paul Ryan's no longer there, because he was leading the way as the Speaker of the House. This is not a partisan issue. I'm outraged at Republicans as well for not joining the president and getting this taken care of.
I want to talk with you very quickly because you and I, we don't see the world the right way. We're slightly demented. We should be more like the Blumenthal from Connecticut, who understands what our world should be focused on. It's the Robert Mueller collusion report. Somehow there was some grammatical error that Bob Barr made, and instead of it saying no collusion, it should have just simply said collusion. So why are we so off kilter here, right? Why aren't we focused on Robert Mueller?
Well, I think it's interesting that last statement is exactly right. The Democrats don't want to focus on the report because the whole country has had the opportunity to read the report. And the report says no collusion. And it also says there is no evidence to dictate a crime of obstruction of justice because he was defending himself against the greatest scandal in American history, which was the intelligence community and the law enforcement community at the highest levels of the federal government trying to bring down the president of the United States. So they don't want to talk about that.
Yeah.
They want to talk about how Barr misrepresented what the Mueller report said. And he didn't. The American people read it. Barr came out and he said there was no collusion. What did Barr say wrong? Read the report. I've read the report. You know what? It says no collusion. So what part of the Barr statement was contradictory to what the report said? And then he said, Mueller said there was no evidence to convict on collusion. So he did not bring forward any effort to try to convict him or to indict him. So, that's what Barr said, and that's what the report said. And I don't think he tried to misrepresent what the report said, and I don't think he tried to misinform the American people, especially now that the report's out.
But I have to ask you.
The entire day today, having the Democrats hyperventilate over a report that's pretty much everybody knows what it says.
Exactly. But I got to ask you here because there's the common man who has tuned to CNN because he's forced to in the airport. And he's heard that Donald Trump is a spy, that Donald Trump has sold uranium to the Russians, that Donald Trump...
He's an agent of the Russians.
Yeah,
he's a foreign agent.
Exactly. He's all those particular things. Everything that we see.
Well, I think there are other investigations going on, and I think that we need to protect those other investigations. There are people that weren't indicted that were investigated, and we need to protect their privacy. Since they weren't indicted, they don't need to be a part of this. And there are grand jury testimonies and witnesses that were brought forward, and they need to be protected. I think we should have it redacted the way it is. I don't think Barr is hiding anything that is inappropriate, and he is doing the right thing. But again, if you read the report, what the report says is that the FBI had done an investigation for 10 months. They had spied on the president. They had spied on his campaign team. They had gone to the FISA court and lied to the FISA judges and had been spying on the president, or the candidate Trump and his campaign members for 10 months. And came back with, and there was no collusion. And Comey told the president, there is no evidence that there is any collusion between you or your campaign. They had already known for 10 months that there was no collusion. And then you saw when he would not go forward and tell the public that that was the case, that Trump fired him. And I would have fired him too. He was being set up by the intelligence community, by the Obama Justice Department. He should have been fired.
This was the softest coup in American history. Treason on Obama, on Hillary, on Loretta Lynch, on any of these people. What is there any evidence to the fact that I'm right? That there was spying, there was tampering?
There's no evidence that you're wrong. That's the scary part. But real quick.
Yeah.
The FBI had been investigating for 10 months. Comey quits. It forces a special counsel. Mueller is put in place. He had all of the facts, all of the information, all of the investigation that was going on for 10 months. He could have easily come back in the next month and said, after looking at all the evidence, compiling all the evidence that the FBI has already done, we know that there is no collusion. And he could have done that because there was no collusion. Why didn't he? That is the question I want to have answered. Why didn't he? And I would argue the reason why he didn't is because he wanted to push this cloud that's over the administration, that's over Trump, through the 2018 election. Because I believe that was the number one issue for voters across the country, was that they were worried about what was going on with the campaign, because for 2 years, the media and the Democrats in Congress had been running with this false narrative, and the intelligence community had been leaking out specific documents to set up the narrative that there was collusion, when they knew for a fact that there wasn't a collusion. Because if you look at the Strzok and Page text messages, they were saying there is nothing there. So Clapper, Comey,
yes,
Brennan, they were leaking all of this information to the media, knowing that there was no evidence of collusion, and they were simply doing it to try to bring down this president, or at least put a cloud over the administration so that they could take back the House and the Senate and push forward on an impeachment of the president and have him removed after the 2018 elections. The reason why they are now coming forward with the Mueller report is because they didn't win the Senate. And now Mueller can't just continue to go forward with investigation. He would look like more of an idiot than he already does. And he's now being forced to come forward. The president was not able to fight back. The president was not able to release the redacted Pfizer documentation. He was not able to bring forward messages and the emails that were going back and forth between Comey and Page and Strzok and McCabe and people in the Justice Department under the Obama administration. He couldn't while he was being investigated, because it would look like a
obstruction of justice.
Obstruction of justice. Thank you. But now that cloud is over him, now that we have the Mueller report, despite what the Democrats in Congress continue to argue today, says that there was no collusion and there was no obstruction of justice, the president, the handcuffs are off.
There you go.
He has the ability to go forward and do everything that he needs to tell the American people exactly what the story was about how the previous administration was working with foreign governments, and we already know that by the Ukrainians and what they have been bringing forward.
Yes.
And we know from the fact that they did lie to the FISA court, and we do know that they were spying on the president and his campaign. We have all of that documentation, and it needs to be released to the American people, because I think when they find out exactly what happened, I think heads are going to roll. There's going to be a demand for people to go to jail, and they should. And everybody at the top of the FBI and the Justice Department should be number one at the top of the list of those that should be prosecuted.
Listen, very quickly, just two quick questions for you. Number one, in about 30 seconds, $2 trillion. Is this the biggest boom for the Democrats in American history? Infrastructure? Should this be done? Should it not be done?
Well, obviously the details are the important part, right?
Yeah.
But I do believe that our bridges and our roads are falling apart, especially in inner city United States. I think if the president is able to work with the Black Caucus in the House and the Senate, which he has been doing for the last year, putting together a bill that will repair the roads in the inner cities and the bridges in the inner cities of the United States, that is a good thing for America. And good policy is good politics.
Exactly.
And already he is having numbers of support, percentages of support in the African American community that no Republican president has ever had before. If he is actually able to put roads in and fix these bridges in inner city Americans, he is going to change the political map in America for decades to come.
How can people support you, sir, on the Committee to Defend the President?
Thank you, buddy. If they can go to committeetodefendthepresident.com, they can watch all the commercials, all the videos we've been doing around the country. And there's also a donation page. You can go there and help us out if you want to have the president's back and help us fight the Democrats and the radical leftists that have been fighting the president for the last 2.5 years. Please do so. We appreciate your help.
Ted Harvey, I got to ask this question from the chat room. Someone asked, are you related to Paul Harvey?
I wish I was. He was a wealthy man who passed away.
He's a great guy. Great guy. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. I'm going to have you back very soon. Ted Harvey, ladies and gentlemen, we got to defend the president by any means necessary. Let's make it happen. We'll be back.